What's going on, Notre Dame fans? Mike Singer and Tyler Horka here from Blue and Gold with our post Marcus Freeman Monday press conference reaction video. Our last one of the regular season. Freeman talked for about 35 minutes today, and Tyler and I will break down the key talking points of the press conference. As always, folks, if you like what you see in here in this video, please do hit the thumbs up and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can get more Notre Dame football and recruiting content. And as always, you can head to blueandgold.com as well and get much more written coverage. Should be a pretty exciting week for Notre Dame football and recruiting, so keep an eye on the website. Tyler, let's go straight to injury updates. I'm going to just list all of them, and then you can kind of give your take on it. Isaiah Foskey is probable. Fantastic news there. Mitch Evans is probable. Cam Hart questionable. Jason Adamalola probable. Brandon Joseph probable. And Tobias Merriweather's questionable. So kind of a long list of, questionable probables, but at least there's no doubtfuls or outs at this point.
Yeah, and the big ones to me are the defensive guys. Getting Brandon Joseph back to a point where he's probable is big news, because I mentioned on an earlier video, it might have been last Thursday's, that I did see him in a walking boot at one point in time. That would have been about 2 weeks ago, coming up on 2 weeks ago. So just to get him in a position to play with that ankle is good, considering USC likes to throw the ball around a little bit. You'd like your secondary to be at full strength. And I guess that leads us to Cam Hart, who I think everybody saw it if you were watching that game. He looked like he was in a little bit of discomfort with that shoulder in the second half. If he can't start, that'd be the first time this year, correct me if I'm wrong, that he has not started at one of those two cornerback positions. So that kind of throws the whole room for a loop there. Do you put Clarence Lewis back out there? Obviously, Ben Morrison is your staple guy right there right now. But what do you do with Tariq Bracy? What do you do with Lewis? Do you put Mickey out there a little bit more? We saw Chance Tucker for the first time in extended action. So the secondary guys are the biggest for me. You mentioned Foskey as well. He's one of those warrior types where I think his legs got to be broken for him not to go out there. Now, we'll see what he does for a bowl game, obviously, because he's going to have to make that decision like Kyle Hamilton did, like Kyron Williams did. But those are the three biggest for me. But then, again, you're going to get into a little bit of an offensive shootout. And the secondary for USC, they have all of these interceptions this year, but you can get by him a little bit. So maybe if Tobias Merriweather is healthy, they catch him by surprise. And we saw the 41-yard touchdown earlier this year. Could that happen at the LA Coliseum? Potentially. So I think you'd like him to be healthy just to have him and to have that threat.
Yeah, you need a good pass rush to stop passing offense, and obviously you need a healthy defensive backfield. So totally agree. And then, yeah, Mitchapalooza, you need to keep that going as well. I would love to see a Mitch Evans passing attempt against the Trojans. Another injury note, which I thought was fascinating, Marcus Freeman was asked about Tyler Buchner near the end of the press conference, and the question was, could he play in a bowl game? And I did not expect Freeman to give much of an answer on this, and he said, if he's healthy, he'll go. Like, they are not shutting that down. It's very to be determined. But Tyler, I think it's interesting. A side note on this, that would only be his third game if he does play in the bowl game. So he is a definite red shirt for Notre Dame this season. And for obviously for himself, he'll just be a redshirt sophomore next season.
Yeah, so going back to, I guess it was September 10th was when he injured that shoulder and had surgery fairly quickly, as far as I know, maybe even as soon as that next week. And if you do the math, 3 months would be the middle of December, and it was a 4 to 6 month timeline that Marcus Freeman gave us. So you figure this team's going to be playing in a bowl game at the end of December. That's about 3.5 months, and it's very possible that we've seen it with a lot of guys that the timelines with these injuries, I don't know what Dr. Radigan is doing, or maybe it's the rehab people, maybe it's Bayless and his crew, but these guys are healing at a pretty healthy rate. So this is where my mind went when that question was asked in the press conference. Maybe it's a Tyler Buchner like we saw during his freshman year, where Drew Pine in the passing offense, we've seen the highs, but we've seen the lows. During one of those low points, do you say, hey, Tyler, go out there. We're going to run you on the edge. We're going to get you out in space with Chris Tyree and all these other guys. You still have that element of a pass. Maybe we see that Tyler Buchner. That's kind of exciting. I think everybody's reaction was, oh, no, don't mess with it. Let's just finish out the year the way it is. But maybe he does play, because Marcus Freeman said, we will not hesitate to put him in if he's 100% and he can go.
Yeah, I would hesitate Because what if he – so you said where your mind went. My mind went to what if he did get injured again? Then it's like, oh, you rushed him back. That would be a disaster. And that would just think – so it's like you have to play that risk reward. And it's not like you're going to be playing in a college football playoff game. So I'm glad I don't get paid to make that decision. I wish I would get paid the money, but not have to make those decisions. But anywho, let's stick on the quarterback position. I can't believe that this is such a big discussion point as it is, Tyler, but it just is, because we get, I mean, in both of our live shows, Saturday, Sunday, people asking about why didn't Steve Angeli play against Boston College? My explanation was it's another thing of risk reward. Like, you don't risk his red shirt. He's already played in 2 games. There's 3 games left. Don't play him against Boston College to hand the ball off in a blizzard. Yeah. In this minuscule case that he has to play in the next 2 games as well. That's what basically Freeman had the same idea as well, right? Just don't. And people are like, well, Notre Dame wouldn't want Steve Angeli for 5 years, right? Well, it's not all about Notre Dame. It's also about Steve Angeli. Like, if he's not going to be a Notre Dame quarterback for the rest of his career, he absolutely would want that extra year of eligibility. Tyler, any extra thoughts there?
Yeah, I just think that the fan base, for the people who are overreacting and screaming, we should have seen Steve Angeli in that game, I think that is way too tied to the score, because I think their line of thinking is, okay, we've got USC in the regular season finale, and then we've got a bowl game. Both of those games are going to be close. Notre Dame is not going to be blowing either of those teams out. So this was the one opportunity to play them. But then my mind goes where yours went, Mike. What was he really going to do in the fourth quarter of that game besides hand the ball off? And we've seen that a couple times already, really out of necessity, especially that first time when Pine was a little banged up and he had to go in. But look, at this point, I think Notre Dame and Marcus Freeman and the coaching staff, Tommy Rees, they're able to sleep a little more soundly, knowing that he is a redshirt. He can play in the last 2 games if he has to, and he's still going to retain that extra year of eligibility. And that's all that decision came down to. It was, why are we going to put him in? And if something does hit the fan, if Drew Pine gets injured on the first play of the game in the very next game, and Steve Angeli has to finish out the season, and he was the guy that went in and handed the ball off against Boston College, bam, that's a whole year of eligibility gone in the last 2 weeks of the season.
And folks would be pissed. Folks, fans would be like, why the hell did he play against Boston College? Just like, anywho, let's move along. Speaking of USC, this Saturday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time kickoff in the Coliseum. You'll be there. Patrick Angle will be there. Really looking forward to your guys' post-game reaction video. With that backdrop will be awesome. But just quickly, Tyler, lots of USC talk, lots of Caleb Williams talk. What would you say is kind of the mood from Marcus Freeman in talking about the Trojans?
He's obviously very he didn't use the word concern, but somebody else did when asking the question, what concerns you about this offense? And the word Marcus Freeman used was everything. And it starts with the quarterback. For me, it really starts with who's running the show, and that's Lincoln Riley. We've seen what he's done at Oklahoma for the past half decade. I mean, what did Oklahoma have? 2 or 3 Heisman Trophy winners in a row. It was a ridiculous stretch for them with the quarterback position, and it's exactly what he has right now. He's got, for a lot of people's estimation right now, going into the last week of the regular season, the Heisman Trophy frontrunner in Caleb Williams operating this offense. He's obviously got a lot of guys to throw the ball to. Jordan Addison, Mario Williams came over from Oklahoma. They did lose their running back, Travis Dye, for the rest of the season, but Marcus Freeman said, hey, the guys that they've got behind them, when you've got Lincoln Riley, you've got a plethora of skill players. Now, will that translate into a lot of points against the Notre Dame defense that likes to play hard-nosed? And can the Notre Dame offense kind of control the game in the way that they have in some of these games this season? So I think it's a kind of a contrast of styles in the sense that Notre Dame wants to rough you up, play tough, run the ball a little bit. Notre Dame or USC wants to throw it all over the place. Which style prevails? We're going to find out on Saturday, and I think it's going to be a really good game because of those two styles going against each other.
And when you mentioned those few USC players, transfer. So like USC is just transfers everywhere. Notre Dame, most of their transfers are in the special teams. So it's just there's another kind of contrast of styles.
Yeah, two different programs for sure.
Appreciate everyone for watching. Stay tuned to Blue and Gold throughout the week. Our YouTube coverage will be a little bit different. No Thursday recruiting show, no Tim Hyde live show Wednesday nights with Thanksgiving and travel for me and all that. So we'll be a little bit different, but we'll still have tons of good content. Post-game live show late Saturday night, Goolsby show next Sunday. So make sure you tune in for all of that. Hit that thumbs up. And as always, folks, we'll catch you next time.